Hello everyone and welcome to another weekly recap. Everything's on fire. The world is ending and the Overwatch League is dying. Not really, but here we are trying to recap everything that's happened so far. It's important to state when this video was recorded because it's Monday. It is Monday, the week after the first weekend of Overwatch League in the Summer Showdown, and well, there's been a lot of news, so we're just going to start getting into it. We're going to start in chronological order and go through. So we're going to start with things that happened last week and hit on those a little bit. So first things first, Myeonbong was dropped from the New York Excelsior, but not in a great fashion. So Myeonbong was dropped by the New York Excelsior, but the worst thing that happened was they announced Myeonbong and they didn't tell Myeonbong before they dropped him. So Myeonbong responded to the tweet with question marks, being like, "What? Sorry, what is happening?" So there was a failure between the management and between what happened, and Myeonbong was not told before he was dropped and it was announced. So they got a lot of flack for that. The dropping, I guess, doesn't make it makes sense, right? There's a lot of reasons why they don't need 3 flex supports. I know, shocking. And Myeonbong's had a pretty average season so far. So they dropped him and they actually signed Ansunjae, who is a main support coming in for the team. He has played historically in the Overwatch League and he's a pretty good player. We actually saw that for the New York Excelsior. They got, did they win both of their matches this weekend? Or did they only win one? I'm trying to remember. But they won a match. And that's really the problem. They lost to Dallas. That's true. Dallas have been looking really good. I think it was 3-1. Lost to Dallas. But in their first win, they posted a graphic when they beat the Houston Outlaws of Myeonbong after they had dropped him and Myeonbong didn't play. We one's in chat. Somehow this happens. But yeah, the New York Excelsior dropping and fumbling the bag a little bit in this week with the dropping of Myeonbong. But on the plus side, the team has been looking a lot better. In this new Junker Queen meta, Kellen's been looking good on the Junker Queen. They have a main support in Ansunjae, and he has been performing well. Gangnam Jin can go back to a flex support, or I guess Brig in this manner. And everything's looking up for the New York Excelsior. They look to be a pretty middling team this season. This stage, which is better than where they were because I think we had them last heading into this stage, at least on Plat Chat. So some positive signs if you're a New York Excelsior fan, not in the organization, but in the team. Okay. Let's talk about another dropping that happened here. We had Piggy dropped from the Houston Outlaws. This comes on the back of rumors that came out a couple of weeks ago that the Houston Outlaws were actively trying to trade players Piggy, Pelican, and Iris. Piggy, obviously they didn't find a trade for him, and we are coming up to, and this is going to be important for some of the news that's coming up, August 18th will be the deadline for trading players. So after August 18th, if a player is dropped, then they will not be able to be signed to another team. You cannot trade a player to another team after August 18th. And as of recording this video, it is August 15th. So Piggy has been dropped from the Outlaws. And Pelican had a few choice words to say about it, saying, "I can't believe it. I can't be happy without Piggy. Fuck GG." He also had another response. Oh, shoot. I'm trying to remember where it was. But he had another response in relation to a Piggy tweet. I think it might be here. He said, "I'm done" here, but he said in another one that he tells Piggy that just wait for me. I will be with you after the season or something like that. So Pelican and Iris and Merritt were all very upset to hear the to hear the Piggy news. You can expand the "I'm done" tweet. Is that it? Is that same reply? Okay, 1 second. Let's find this real quick. Oh, I'm so fucking lost. Where are we? Oh, is this the one? There's where it is. Take a break. I'll finish soon and leave. So if you're a Houston Outlaws fans, there's things to be nervous about because it seems like Pelican is very unhappy. Piggy and Pelican were very close friends. They talked about it in the past. So we're a little worried. We're a little worried for the Houston Outlaws. But they did drop Piggy, and they picked up one North American contenders player and one European player in Lep and Doge. So Lep and Doge join the fray. Lep is a main support player. He played Lucio for them this weekend. Had a great rookie weekend. They did get reverse swept in his first game and almost reverse swept in their second game. But they did play against some good opponents. And it's sort of, well, I guess New York Excelsior, not really. But it was competitive, and I think Lep looked quite good. Doge did play in their first matchup. He had some good moments, but he is playing from Europe. So it can be difficult. And in their second match, they played primarily Dante on that Junker Queen. So excited to see both of these players. They're both finally getting their shot in the Overwatch League and performing somewhat well in their first ones. Houstonable, dude, it's always Houstonable. We'll talk about those matches a little bit later on. So that's a lot of the stuff that's happened in the Houston Outlaws camp. As we go into the more recent news, we're going into today. And there was a lot of things that happened today. So let's start with the Washington Justice. So rumors are a week ago around that, the Washington Justice were rumored to be trying to trade all of their players. They're trying to downsize their roster and their budget for their team, and they've been actively looking to trade their players. Mag is the first one being announced and released from the Washington Justice, and the Boston Uprising have acquired them. Mag has actually been performing quite well this season, in my opinion, especially this weekend on the Junker Queen. He looks quite adept at that hero. So this will be interesting to see how he's going to affect the Boston Uprising. This is a team that they've had so many tanks in the past. They had Marvel, they have NYXL. They're going for their third main tank for the season. Mag is a great Winston, so it should fill that hole in the things that Punk can't play. I'm curious to see who is going to play Junker Queen for the Boston Uprising, though, because Punk actually looked quite good at it as well. So only time will really tell. But that's it for the Washington Justice. The real question is this just the tip of the iceberg? The rumors are that the Washington Justice have been interested in trying to trade all their players. Have they found places? Where could they go? They obviously have phenomenal players like Decay, who is kind of I don't want to say like a toxic asset, but he's been on a lot of different teams. So who would take a risk on him? Happy has obviously been absolutely incredible, and their support line has been impressive. Krillin, Vigilante, as he's come of age, has been good. Opener's impressed me, considering where he came from. So, and if this is going to happen, what team is going to be picked up? There is rumors, so keep this in mind, that Team Peps would potentially be getting picked up for the Washington Justice, and that is a European contenders team that didn't perform that well in A-sides, but they have a lot of familiar faces. They have Logix, they have FD God, they have Benbest, they have Naga, so players who have been on the league but have since been dropped and made a contenders team. The rumors are why they would be picked up is because they have North American visas. They have an American visa, so it could be easily transferred in. They are rumors, though. So we don't know what to expect, but, you know, with everything happening with Mag being traded from the team, it seems to point to the direction that something is happening within the Washington Justice. There have been other tweets, but we're not going to go through them all. Paris Eternal is the next one on the list of crazy things that have happened. The Paris Eternal have dropped Dan, Vestola, Dredro, and Khan, which is essentially their entire European roster. So they're a shadow of what they were last year. They had a great performance. They went 8-8. They had a European setup. This year, they came in, decided to promote J-Mac to a Korean head coach of this European team, signed Glister, and it has fallen apart for them. This team they are currently 1-13, I believe it is, and performed very poorly this weekend. The rumors are that the players were, according to Dan, who was one of the players who was dropped, is they were aware that they were getting dropped. So for these players, there wasn't really much to play for and I guess practice for going into this weekend. So I wish them the best of luck. There is rumors, at least at this point, another rumor this is less of a rumor and more reading into tweets. This is from Hardy from the London Spitfire. He has posted 2 German flags and an eye emoji. Khan is German, so there is assumptions that maybe Khan would go to the London Spitfire as a second flex support player. So that'd be a cool thing, and good to see some of these other players get picked up for different teams. But if Paris Eternal dropped 4 of their players, who have they signed? They have signed a bunch of Odyssey players and Croy, who I believe is from Team Wisp. I don't know much about Croy, but he is going to be coming in to be their tank player. They have also signed from Odyssey, Luke Mino and Rack Attack. These are essentially the support lineup from Odyssey, which have been probably the only team to really contest the old American Tornado, and they've been, I believe they just won A-Sides, the Contenders Tournament in this meta. So I'm excited to see these 2 players get promoted, finally get their opportunity in the league. Mathil has also been promoted from them as well, who is, I believe, from Mexico? I'm not exactly sure, but he's not an American player. But essentially, the entire Paris Eternal roster is American, or at least North American as a whole, which is exciting because it has already been announced by the Paris Eternal that next year they will be promoted. They will be changing, to the Vegas Eternal or something like that. So they will be a Vegas team. So maybe this is an early transition. Essentially, the European experiment failed. So may as well pick up a Western team early and get a core roster going. So this Paris team can't be worse than what they just were this weekend. So I'm excited to see how some of these players are going to go, how they are going to perform in the league at the highest level. I believe they should all be playing on reasonable ping, as they are primarily American. I don't know how long it's going to take them to get into a facility and practice, but they are all Contenders players who have had experience playing this Junker Queen meta, because obviously there are new nerfs coming in from the Overwatch League, but it's essentially the same meta. So they should be experienced and at least ready with some experience with each other for this match. Who do Paris play next? We'll talk about that a little bit later on. So let's talk about some other things that isn't roster moves. Those are all the roster moves as of right now. I'm excited to see how many more roster moves we get throughout the rest of the week, but keep your ears to the ground. There's a lot of cool stuff and crazy stuff happening right now. So let's talk about the Vancouver Titans, because DP had a few choice words on Twitter to say this tweet has since been deleted, but the damage is done when you tweet out anything like this. DP said, "I want healthcare, please. I want to have a jersey, please. I want to have a team event. I don't want to have to pay for every team meal. I've been asking since I've joined. Please." This looks to be a crack at the Vancouver Titans organization as a whole, essentially just dropping the ball with a lot of these things. I don't know if this is required to provide to a coach, but it's Canada, so I think they have free healthcare, so hopefully you should be okay. But as a coach, he should hopefully have healthcare. When you are a tenured person, hopefully you should get provided something like that. He should at least have a jersey for the team that he just played on, that he's signed to. Come on, it's like the little things. A team event, I don't know if he's talking about they want to run an event like Dallas or Toronto, or if he's just like, we want to be able to have social events and team building events within the team. And primarily, he should not have to pay for team meals. If the team goes out as a group, he should not be the ones having to cover this. The Vancouver Titans need to do better as a team. Obviously, pretty unprofessional thing to tweet, but hey, you got to get something done somehow. And hopefully this sparks something changing, because, we've heard from other players in the Vancouver Titans organization and players that they're just not living up to the standards that some of these other teams are getting, right? You look at the Gladiators, you look at the Shock. They seem to have a lot of resources to support their players and help them be competitive. And these things, if they aren't accounted for, it can be very difficult to deal with. So I don't want to speak too much about the nitty gritty of the of this situation, as I'm not perfectly aware of it, but there is some resentment coming out of the Vancouver Titans camp. Al is doomed. I'm not a doomer. There is definitely a lot of shit hitting the fan right now, but Overwatch League, Overwatch 2, hopefully we can turn it around. DP is on Canadian Riot mode, yeah. So, let's start talking about the meta about the weekend that we just saw. Obviously, we got to talk about the matches and do our powerings for the weekend. But I want to start this whole segment and discussion off with a tweet. This is from Sam's Twitter, but this is actually taken completely from Reiner's Twitter. After, I think it was Saturday night, after the matches on Saturday, Reiner came out. The Gladiators go 0-2 in the weekend. So you can read this as a salty tweet. So this is an original tweet from Reiner. And he says, impressive that the devs managed to make a zero skill meta. Don't even call this salty because it's legitimately true. You see teams like Gladiators, Shock, and Reign dropping maps in series to teams that should never be able to touch them, and it's really the only conclusion you can come to. So, it's hella salty, as we can all agree. If he tweeted this when they were 2-0, I think there would be more legitimacy to what he's talking about. But obviously, the team that has been dominant throughout the entirety of this season going 0-2 and then tweeting this, it's going to read salty. It is salty. But there is truth to what he is saying. Got some uplifting news. Okay, after this, I need that. Please send. But there is truth. I wouldn't say it's a zero skill meta. I would say individual mechanics and skill matters a lot less. That is the thing that the Gladiators, the Shock, the Reign have in spades, is they have very talented individual mechanical players. That's what's got them across the line in these recent playoffs and the previous metas. This meta is more team-orientated skill. Plays very similar to GOATs. It's all about how you work as a team, target calling, ultimate usage, coordinating as a unit, okay? So that is the main thing. So I can understand the frustration. It is a very boring meta to watch. If you've watched it, it's just like watching. It's very hard to just focus and see the differences and the impact that these teams are having other than like missed ultimates, player poorly mispositioning and stuff like that. Just nowhere near as interesting. So I can understand where he's coming from. So I feel for Reiner, but it's still hella salty. And I think that these top teams, you know, the Gladiators, Shock, and Reign. Reign had did Reign have an 0-2 weekend as well? Really struggling in this meta. Gladiators went 0-2. Shock went 2-0, didn't they? The Shock went down 0-2 and then came back to reverse sweep. Who did they reverse sweep? I can't remember who it was. Justice. They reversed swept the Justice, who seems to be a pretty good team in this meta right now. And then they beat Florida in a pretty convincing fashion. So the Shock dealing with it, and as they should, but it is definitely an equalizer meta. It is going to shrink the pack because all of a sudden those big rosters aren't as important as good coaching, good team strengths. I would expect to see the Gladiators, the Shock, maybe less so the Reign, to be able to bounce back in this meta, but it's just going to take some time, and they got to work out the meta, get some confidence, start playing better. But the Gladiators should be better than they have been. I'm not going to look at all the responses. There were a ton of pro players that came out in agreement to this. You know, Kaluge, agreed to it. Dante agreed to it. You can't defend it. The Junker Queen, in her current state, with the AoE shout that gives speed boost and overhealth, is just a problem. It promotes these Lucio Brig, massive aura healing, overhealth compositions to be able to thrive. And it's just really boring to watch. And that can lead us into talking about some of these teams. Because honestly, your pick'ems should be fucked. If they aren't fucked, they should be. Because it was a hell of a weekend. I didn't do great in the grand scheme of things, but let's talk about it. I'm not going to talk too much about all the details, just sort of initial impressions of all of these teams. So Florida Mayhem came up against the London Spitfire. London don't look super comfortable in this meta. They did turn it around against Boston in their later match, but London, they've tried to play a little bit of Rush, but I think since then they just agreed the Rush just doesn't work. Rush is just not going to work against this Junker Queen. We almost have a completely exclusive meta because nothing can touch it. And, there are Reddit analysts who are just like, I think you should play Wrecking Ball. I think you should. Why don't you just play Pharah, you idiots, so you can fight? If it would work, someone would do it, okay? So someone would try it. We won't have a true agreement or full understanding of it until we see the East play. I'm really curious to see what the East is going to play if they have also agreed to play the Junker Queen and that it is just the best meta. The reason that you can't play the Wrecking Ball or any of these other heroes is even if it individually makes sense, there is just too much sustains, too much healing that the Jungle Queen provides and this composition does, that it's just not going to work. The East is playing the same. All right, Avril says it. Avril's saying the East is playing the same. I assume he's got sources. He's got his ear to the ground. Yeah, was that your happy news, Avril? That better not have been your happy news that the East is also playing Jungle Queen. If Jinmu's not playing Pharah, then no one's going to play Pharah. Let's put it that way. No, my happy news is this. Oh, let's get Pitbull. Never be afraid to take risk. The biggest risk you can take is not taking one. Mr. Worldwide. There's your Monday motivation. Fucking baited, dude. That's the last time I open a link from Avril. So you should expect to see this Junker Queen. So we need to focus on that for all these teams. The Junker Queen is meta. I think London learned their lesson that maybe Rush isn't it. I think you can put in the Mei. I think a couple of teams, Dallas also put in the Mei for certain points, and it makes sense instead of the Genji. It can have its moments. Backbone's obviously an incredible Mei. I don't know how his right clicks are so accurate. But they did lose to the Florida Mayhem, who are a team that looked to be on an upswing, except for when they played the Shock. So something that I think is going to be important to note with these kind of GOATs team-orientated metas, you should expect to see a lot of 3-0s. Obviously, in the first couple of days, we had some crazy reverse sweeps and that kind of stuff. But as the meta stabilizes and teams become more identifying how to play, you're going to see more matches like you saw in the third day, where when a team is better than another team, even if it is only by a little bit, they will be 3-0 blowouts because those little differences are hard to overcome. In previous metas, where you have like, you know, Tracer v Tracer heads matches or Hitscan v Hitscan, there is individual pop-off moments that can determine maps. And they like one person has a really good map and they win that. In a GOATS-esque meta, that doesn't matter as much. Those individual pop-offs don't exist to as much a degree. So you're going to see when one team is better than another, they will just win all of the maps. So you should get in for some 3-0. Get ready for some 3 Overwatch. But we did have some spicy games in the first one with a couple of reverse sweeps that was surprising. The New York Excelsior reverse swept the Houston Outlaws. Welcome to the league, Dojan Lep. In a pretty brutal fashion, the New York Excelsior seem to be much improved with some of their roster changes and in this meta. You know, Yaki being able to play the Genji, Flora being able to play the Sojourn, Kellen being adept at the Junker Queen, having a main support. It's been a big boon for the Excelsior, and they look to be a lot more competitive. The Outlaws also look to be pretty solid in this meta. They looked much better against the Gladiators later in the weekend. The Gladiators have been heavily struggling, but the Gladiators also, for some hopium, if you're the Gladiators lost to Dallas Fuel and the Houston Outlaws, who I would see would be like top 3, top 4 in the West right now. So the Gladiators were very close to having a 2-0 weekend. If they just don't play Sojourn and they just like find some like coordination and their backline sort of steps up a little bit, I think they play pretty poorly for what we accept them for. I think the Gladiators will still be good, and they'll be good in the playoffs. I think when push comes to shove, they'll be good. The Dallas Fuel, though, Dallas Fuel fans, I know I was very negative to you guys in my last recap video. I know that on Plat Chat, we put you really low, and you guys are really upset about it, and you baby raged about it. This is my formal apology to you guys. You were right. You are going to be good in this meta. We shouldn't have doubted you. Are you flawless? No. Do you still have hit scan issues? Kinda. But you guys look really good in this meta because Hanbin is a boss. And that's what we need to rally behind. Dallas Fuel looking to be good in this meta. One of the best teams right now. They 3-2 the Los Angeles Gladiators. They 3-1 the New York Excelsior team. Another one that should be good. Hanbin fucks, he does. I'm excited to see more of these. You can't take too much from just this one weekend. I think it's going to be hard to... We just don't know where all the teams stand because some of the lower teams like New York Excelsior are all of a sudden good. So Houston losing to New York Excelsior, like where does that put the Houston Outlaws? Because Houston Outlaws also put the Gladiators. So is Gladiators like the worst team in the West? No, obviously. But we need to like sort of give it a little bit of time. But a team that we do know is struggling and has fallen in this meta is the Atlanta Reign. they just don't look that comfortable. Nero on the Genji has kind of been struggling. He just doesn't, it feels like they use like Beat Blade like a lot. Their defensive ultimates seem like they don't really completely understand how they're doing it in comparison to some other teams. So I think they have good players, and I think that they will come back together. They don't care about regular season. They drop regular season matches all the time, and they'll probably be back for the playoffs, but they definitely are struggling at this point. We talked about the Boston Uprising already. I think Punk on the Junker Queen was a good look. The V brothers coming together for that dub, as they always do. Boston Uprising looking to be a good team. With the addition of Mag, they could be better as well. I'm curious to see if they're going to play Mag or Punk moving forward. Only time will really tell. But I would say Boston's a pretty middling team right now. San Francisco Shock are looking solid in this meta. They have great players. Proper's fucking on Genji. They've been playing Kilo on the Sojourn. It all looks good. I would say Shock is probably number one in the power rankings right now. Washington Justice. I can't believe I'm going to say it. Pretty good. Actually, you know what? I can say it because the Washington Justice is about to blow up their roster anyway. So, Washington Justice, the moment that I see a glimmer of light, it's all coming downhill. But the Washington Justice did look good. They look competent right now in the meta that they're playing. Excited to see more of them if we do get to see more of them. They did just lose Mag, who was a big proponent of their success because he was so good on that Junker Queen. Yeah. We'll see. I don't really know what else to say. Trying to find though. 2-0 weekend, baby. That's playing to win. That's playing to make your own land right there. You love to see it. Hopper, more like Pogba, am I right? Hopper's been dominating on that Junker Queen. Their backline, Chorong and Twilight. Who could have doubted them in a meta like this? Twilight playing very well on that Brig. Chorong on that Lucio going nuts. Their coordination. Pieces least, as it always is. It's looking good for Toronto. I think they'll be good in this meta. They should be able to qualify at this point for their own land. It was close. They almost lost to Vancouver Titans. We can talk about Vancouver a little bit. King had a really good debut. So he obviously signed with them in the midseason. King had a great debut until Oasis. I don't want to talk about it too much, but there was some tomfoolery on that Oasis a little bit. But it was good. It was good. So I'm excited to see more from Vancouver Titans. They got their first win in their match against the Paris Eternal. Wasn't even close. I think Vancouver's actually a pretty middling team right now. I think it makes sense. They got Mirror in to play that Junker Queen. Looks good at that. Aspire on the Sojourn is fucking crazy. Like, Aspire consistently impresses me all the time. I think I questioned it last week of, Aspire is your best Tracer player. Do you really want to put it on hit scan? Yeah, apparently you do. And King, I think, picked up that Genji role pretty well. He wasn't incredible, but he did his job, I think, at that point. So I think everything looking good for Vancouver. They get their first win. The question is, and Matt gave the guarantee on the desk that the Vancouver Titans will make the land. I think that'd be a really cool storyline. I think it'd be cool to see Vancouver Titans start stepping up, getting some wins, because I think they deserve it. Who else haven't we talked about? Paris Eternal, not much to talk about. They just dropped their entire roster, and they sucked. Gladiators obviously struggled. Yeah, that's kind of the weekly recap. We can talk about these matches bits and pieces. Boston Uprising struggled heavily against London Spitfire, which was kind of disappointing because it looked like Boston might have been really good in this meta. Want to see more from them. Washington beat Paris. Gladiators almost came back against the Houston Outlaws. Houston Outlaws almost Houstonable. It was a very Houstonable series. They seemed to just their ultimate usage just went out the window. Their Colosseo strat was really poor. They had the lead so many times, but somehow kept choking it away. But hey, they have Merit now, and Merit saved your butts. If you're a Houston Outlaws fan, you need to say thank you, Merit, because he went crazy on that Sojourn in that final Shrine round, and they won a couple of fights that they did not deserve to win. Pelican went crazy on that Gibraltar as well. Pelican Merit looked to be very good in this meta, and honestly, if the Houston Outlaws can get their shit and put it in a nice little pile, you got Pelican on Genji, Merit on Sojourn, Dante on this Junker Queen. Lep playing well as a Lucio as he gets more legs and gets more confidence. He said how nervous he was in those matches. They can go far in this tournament. They can potentially be top 3 in the West. I said it. Last row best brig statistically, yeah. Like, they could be top 3. They could pop off in the playoffs. They'll probably choke in the playoffs, but there's potential there. And I didn't even talk to Jake in a bathroom recently, so that's not even like copium coming out from nowhere. San Francisco Shock dominated the Florida Mayhem. They got a long way. Florida, I think, going to stand pretty solidly in the mid. Dallas Fuel looking dominant against New York Excelsior, and then Toronto beating Atlanta. Pelly's quitting late, maybe? No, Pelly's not going to quit. Pelly said maybe at the end of the year he doesn't retain in the team, but we'll see. London Bastion. Oh, yeah, I guess London played Bastion. I think that was more of a caught them off guard kind of thing. I don't think the Bastion's good. All right, let's do our power rankings then. Sure, wait, should we do our pick'ems and then the power rankings? Yes, we pick'ems then power rankings. We decided that's better because I think I end up doubting myself. So let's talk about the East. So we know from Avril and just using our brains that Junker Queen is going to be better in the East. So who is going to be good in that meta? Guangzhou Charge versus the Shanghai Dragons. Shanghai Dragons will probably play Who Are You and then lip on the Sojin. I would assume it's probably going to be Void on the Junker Queen, but I'm worried that that's going to lose a lot of their team coordination, and I don't know if Fate would be a great Junker Queen. You got Lee Jae-gon on the Lucio, Izayaki on the Brig. I do have my concerns for the Shanghai Dragons, and they have not been performing as well. But Guangzhou Charge, they made a bunch of changes. They made a bunch of signings. They do have experience playing this composition because like a Pritter, Xerneas, they played in that, but they didn't do well. So I think you have to give it to the Shanghai Dragons. Nothing about the Guangzhou Chargers give me that much confidence. I'll give them a map. I'm curious to see if we see Jimmy or a Pritter for the Guangzhou Charge. You would usually say it's pretty cut and dry, but Jimmy performed better in contenders than a Pritter did. So we'll see. Jimmy Goats is Jotes, true. Hangzhou Spark versus the Seoul Dynasty. Okay, chat, hear me out. I think Spark wins. I think this is going to be a better meta for the Hangzhou Spark. They have Shai who can still play Sojin, and he just had some of the best individual performances on Sojin. Alpha Yi's Genji is one of his best heroes. Bernard has been performing very well. He's a smart player, and he should be good at the Junker Queen. And then their backline's been stepping up. So I think they could be good. Seoul Dynasty, obviously, they have great players. They can play like Prophet Genji, Fitz on the Sojin. Smurf has always historically been a great tank. The Vindname backline, Vindname creative backline, like Vindname's a good Lucio, creative Brig. We'll see. I have my questions, but I'm gonna give it to Spark. It'd be cool to see Seoul bounce back, but I think this will be good meta for Hangzhou. This is really the determining factor of, was it a fluke by the Spark, right? Like, did they just pop off that one time, but they're gonna forever stay 3rd/4th, or are they actually gonna be the best in the East? How could you worry about Smurf? No, I said I'm not worried about Smurf. Smurf has historically always been good. Chengdu Hunters versus Seoul Dynasty. This will probably change depending on how good Seoul looks here, but I do have no faith in the Chengdu Hunters to be good in this meta. Jinmu's going to play Genji, which is good for them, and leave on the Sojin, but I don't know, man. Chengdu is just whack. Like, maybe they'll be good in this meta, but Chengdu is just giving me no confidence that they're going to be one of the better teams in the East. We can make as much theoreticals, but until Chengdu actually shows a top-tier performance, I can't give it to him. Daisy or Gaga Junkie? No idea, right? Shanghai versus Spark. I think Spark beats them 3-1. I don't think Shanghai is going to be better than Spark. I think the Spark is going to be the best team in the East. I think they will be the best team in the East. Philadelphia Fusion. So let's go like Fury Junker Queen, MN3 Sojin, Zest Genji is very nice. Zest's neutral Genji is like some of the best in the league. How good is Philly going to be? They're definitely going to beat the Valiant. I have no faith in No Hill Season to work this out. Like, maybe Sashin is like incredible, or Marvel is incredible at Junker Queen. Don't forget, APAC loves Ashe. Yeah, they could play a lot of Ashe. That's a good shout, actually, that they could play Ashe. Like, if anyone's going to play Ashe, it's going to be Philly with MN3. Yeah, I don't trust the Valiant. I think Valiant's going to be worse than here. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. Like, you know, they have some good pieces that could play it, like Dia Hitscan, Easyhan on the Genji, Becky on the Genji. Becky's had some good moments, Sashin, but I don't know. Valiant's been so bad. I'm going to give Guangzhou this map because of their experience in it. This could go either way. I don't know how to feel about it. The Haker slander. Giving maps out like candy. I guess that's true. Like, maybe I shouldn't be giving maps out, but I just have no idea what to expect, so I am just giving maps out. Like, there's probably going to be more 3-0s. Ah, fuck it. You're right. Valiant's not going to get a map this weekend. And then Philly beats Chengdu 3-0. Let's go that. That's my East predictions. All right, let's go over to the West. Vancouver Titans versus New York Excelsior. Ooh. Who's better between Vancouver and New York? My gut says New York. I think Titans have been playing well, but I think New York's been on another level. I'm going to go 3-1 for New York. I'll give Vancouver a map because I don't think they'll get 3-0. I don't think there's that much of a difference, but I think I give it to New York. Healthcare buff, Titans 3-1. No, he said they don't have healthcare. That's the problem. Boston Uprising versus Shock. Shock's going to 3-0 the Boston Uprising. If Boston gets 3-0'd by... Who did Boston get 3-0'd by? They got 3-0'd by fucking London. They're going to get 3-0'd by the Shock. Dallas versus Toronto. Toronto's been looking good, but I think Dallas just looks dominant in this meta. I'll give Toronto a map. Houston Outlaws versus London Spitfire. I'm going to go 3... It's going to be close. Houston's just going to go to map 5 in every single series forever. Houston's going to win 3-2 against the London Spitfire because it's the London Spitfire as well. They never go down without a fight. Oh, Shock versus Gladiators. Oh, I think you got to give it to the Shock. But do the Gladiators get their shit and put it together? I think, yeah, I'm going to go 3-1. I think Gladiators get a map, but I don't think it's going to be a map 5. I think Shock has the edge. I think they're the best in the West right now. It really comes down to how much growth do the Gladiators have in this short amount of time, right? Is that the record-tying game? It is the record-tying game. It is close to the record-tying game because the Shock have matches from last season as well, so it's coming up there. Reiner just isn't as good as the rest of the league on Junker Queen. Reiner has definitely been disappointing on the Junker Queen. Like, you know, we have him on the argument for Rookie of the Year. He did not put Rookie of the Year performance up on the Junker Queen thus far. Obviously, it's a very team-orientated game, but just individually on the hero, he didn't look that comfortable. So I hope that Reiner goes back, he deletes his Twitter, stops listening to them, and gets some grind going. Florida Mayhem versus the Washington Justice. Dude, we don't even know. You know what? Florida Mayhem wins 3-0. The fact that they lost Mag, their Junker Queen player, I have no faith in this team. That they're going to come together with a coherent team. Does anyone know why Paddy is playing? I believe it was said that Paddy on stream said that he is not playing due to a wrist injury. Apparently that. Ben Best over someone, sorry. There is arguments to be made that if they do pick up Team Peps, that they have a lot of experience in this meta, but that experience didn't even win them EU contenders, let alone coming in to be better, and they're going to be playing on ping. So if they do pick up Team Pep and that does come through, we don't know if like that's going to happen. So So Boston Uprising versus Dallas Fuel. Boston's going to get 3-0'd. I think Boston's going to try and play Mag, and it's going to be weird. Paris Eternal versus Atlanta Reign. Oh my God. Paris Eternal versus Atlanta Reign. We're not going to see either of these teams play earlier in the week as well. Apparently, Atlanta isn't that bad. The players that Paris picked up are very good in this meta. Luke Mino and Rack Attack just won NA contenders. Can Wob and Dove step up with better team players around them? Yeah, I guess Malthel. If Malthel comes in, plays the Genji over Wob. Dove, Dove used to play with them. Like Dove, I actually think Dove is an underrated hit scan, is getting an unreasonable amount of hate considering the entire Paris team sucks. Could be a honeymoon situation. That's a good shout by Saturn on Time. Malthel is shit. You guys tell me that you think you trust Atlanta after that performance in the week. On the weekend, do you think they can turn it around? Fuck it. I'm going 3-2. Just for the memes. So that I look smart if I get it right, but if I get it wrong, I'll just never talk about it again. And then the Gladiators versus the Toronto Defiant. I think the Gladiators are going to bounce back a little bit. I'm going to go 3-1 for Gladiators. There we go. Fuck it. Let's go. Fuck it. Full send. Let's go, Paris. Thoughts? Actually, that was the thing. Thoughts on the graphic? Yeah, it was internally talked about that graphic that went with Dove. I think that was a miscommunication, and it shouldn't have been run. The one between Dove and Aspire, was it? Yeah, Dove and Aspire. Obviously, it was just a very misleading graphic because Dove didn't play Sojourn for the entire match. I believe it was assumed that it was going to go through of like DPS heroes in the entire... I think when the graphic was... The way it was intentionally supposed to be made, it was that it was supposed to be the entire match on both heroes. But because it was only Sojourn, Dove only played like a few team fights as that hero and then switched, so he never got a final blow. He obviously did more than that. So it got brought up. Obviously, it was really bad. It's been talked about. Like, teams came up, complained about it, or players complained about it. Everything happened. It got done. Go out to APAC. This is what I got, Avril. What do you think? Yeah, and then the double flex support. I think the double flex support is an interesting play. I think as the weeks go on, teams are going to try and find iterations that can work. I think the double flex support is an interesting one. I'm curious to see how it works in the long term. It obviously got obviously it got dumpstered in their last match against who was it? Shock, but yeah, Fusion. Why do you think Fusion isn't going to be good, Avril? You got Zest on Genji, MN3 on Ashe/Sojourn. Surely Fury or Bellis Rio will be good. Bit of no-heal slander. I have no faith. I said it. This is not no-heal season. When no-heal proves to me that they can work their shit out and put it together in a cohesive lot, then I'll say it. But they haven't been coordinated enough. And they seem to change which players. Like, I don't know who's going to play Genji. Easyhan or Becky? Like, I don't know what their team is doing, so I just can't trust them. Becky 100%? Probably, right? Like, Becky looked really good. Easyhan is a hit scan. Haven't we seen Easyhan play... We saw Easyhan play something. Am I mixing up who... Didn't we see Easyhan play the Echo for them recently? Or was it Genji? Or am I misremembering who it was? Genji Echo for the team? Yeah. Innovation? You forget innovation, but well, they haven't really played innovation from my experience. I don't know. Valiant games are a blur to me, if I'm going to be honest. I trust Avril way more in the APAC predictions than I do, so he probably knows better than I do. Okay, let's go into power rankings then. Why don't you think Soul would be good? I think they will be good. I just think Spark will be better. All right, so let's do the West region first. Let's talk about these teams. Let's go. San Francisco Shock goes to number 1. I think Dallas Fuel goes to number 2. And then I think we have a tier break. Is there a world in which Outlaws are number 3? No. I think it goes Outlaws and then Gladiators. And then tier break? Oh, NYXL. Yeah, NYXL. I just forgot they were so low. I think NYXL... God, where does NYXL go in the grand scheme of things? They lost to Fuel, but they beat Outlaws. Does NYXL go up here? No. This would be the most ridiculous jump in the history of time. We win. Get your we wins out of here. All right. I'm putting NYXL at 5, and this is just disrespect. I want you to be aware that this is disrespectful to the New York Excelsior. Because I can't have them jump that far. They just can't. They just can't go that far. They're probably gonna start. They're probably gonna fuck it up. Avast did it. Well, if Avast did it, then I'm definitely not gonna do it. Like that. Like obviously they played well this weekend, but can they keep it? Do I personally believe that when push comes to shove and the Houston Outlaws and the Gladiators get their shit together, do I think the New York Excelsior is gonna be better than them? No. No, I don't. I think New York Excelsior, because I trust the Gladiators more as well. I think that's it. And then it goes Toronto Defiant. I think they stay in the tier break. They're above the tier break as well. I think they deserve to be here. I think they played quite well. Do they? Am I trolling? They almost lost to Vancouver, and then they beat the Rain. I guess they only beat the Rain. Do they deserve to be in this tier? Yeah, fuck it. Florida Mayhem, I think we go tier break then. I think we go tier break. And then we go Florida, London, Atlanta, Boston. Oh, Washington. Fuck, Washington. No, Washington gets sent to the Thunderdome. Vancouver. God, this is actually hard. Do I rank Paris? With all these changes? Like, what do I do with Paris and Washington? Yeah, I think Paris and Washington stay in the gulag. I think that's fair. I just, like, as I said, I can make assumptions of how good I think these players are going to be, but there's too many unknowns. Too many variables. Too many variables. We're just going to leave them there. So who's the worst? Okay, let's work from the bottom. Holy shit, who's the worst? Honestly, we don't really have any super shit teams now that Paris is reset. I guess it might be Paris. Is Atlanta the worst team? They lost to Toronto and they lost to Boston. God, they kind of have to be. Because Boston lost to London. So London needs to be above Boston. Vancouver beat Paris, but they almost beat Toronto. So where does Vancouver sit? And Florida's better than London. Where do we... Copy me if you want. Oh yeah, let me copy the homework. Oh no. Oh, this is your APAC comp? What's this? Your APAC pick'ems from Avril? I can't believe you think the Valiant is going to beat Philly. So do you think Guangzhou is better than Philly as well? Do you think Philly... Wait, so you think Philly is the worst team? In the APAC region? Oh no, Chengdu. Wait, you think Philly's last? How does Philly go from second best to last? I hate Fusion. Bruh. Avril's off the goop. I feel better about my power. I think they'll be better than that. Tell Reddit. I rolled the dice. Yeah, honestly, it's a dice roll. Like this whole meta is a dice roll. I think it's impossible to predict who's going to be good in the East. All right. Dude, I can't put Atlanta last. Chat, I can't do it. Theoretically, they are last. But I don't think I can. I don't think I can do it. I think Vancouver stays last. Because there's no way Boston can be last. Can they? Darkroom bias? Well, it's just like Atlanta's going to be better. Atlanta's going to improve. Well, I did just say Atlanta was going to lose to Paris, though. No, it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to Atlanta. Atlanta freaking sucked. They did suck. Thank you very much for money. London over Defiant? What? No. Titans look competitive. All right, we're doing Vancouver, Atlanta, Boston. I think I'm happy with this. I think this is where I leave it. I think this is where I leave it. Boston beat Atlanta though? Yeah, but I don't think it's not gonna last. Because Boston looks so much worse against London Spitfire. Copium? Fine. Yeah, chat, you want to bully me into it? Fine, I accept bullying. Okay? Fine. Atlanta last. Are you happy, chat? You happy with what you did? Defiant too high? How can Defiant be too high? They 3-0'd Atlanta and they 3-0'd Titans. Oh, well, they beat the Titans. Like, I think they kind of have to be them. All right, we happy with the West? Everyone good? Yeah, they barely beat the Titans. I think they're going to be good. I think Toronto's going to be good in this meta. Do I think they like are probably going to stay? They probably could go down here. Like the only other place I'd put them is like here. But no, I want bias. I want them to make their own land. So I'm trying to give them hope. All right, let's talk about the East. I think Hangzhou Spark, then Seoul Dynasty, then Shanghai, then Philly. I kind of want to put Philly above Shanghai. Then Chengdu. No, actually, I think Philly has negative coordination. I take it back. Philly has like negative team coordination, and they rely purely on individual pop-off. And I don't know if this is the meta for that. Charge over Hunters? Nah. I think the Hunters stay at 5. I'm going to take a tier break out as well. Because there is no evidence of anything. Honestly, it's all chaos. Void is going to play Junker Queen, but I think that is a problem because if Void plays Junker Queen, then I think they don't have they don't have Fate's leadership. But the East is a coin toss. Honestly, we could just coin toss and I could probably defend it. All right, I'm happy with it. That's where we stand. That's where we stand, chat. That's where it is. And that's my weekly recap. That was a week. This out of all the weeks of Overwatch League, this was definitely a week. Brutal. Lots of changes, lots of trades, lots of things. We're in a crazy meta. Meta kind of sucks. Hopefully we get a new patch going from stage 3 to stage 4, but expect a lot more Junker Queen. We're going to see this meta throughout the entirety of the thing. Maybe we'll see some iterations of it, kind of how Florida Mayhem did double flex support. But you should be prepared to see this for the rest of the stage. So who is good at this is going to be good for the rest of the stage. So keep your eyes out. It's going to be evolving. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.